Hi, I'm Rita Peterson with Everything Homemade, and in this video I'm going to combine two loves of mine. I love sprouted bread and I love sourdough bread. I'm going to show you how to make sprouted sourdough bread today. I am excited to show you this because I get to show you that awesome sprouted bread technique using the Omega juicer. Plus, I get to take my sourdough starter and combine it with it. So this is pretty exciting and it makes an absolutely delicious loaf. Welcome to all of those that are new to my channel. Remember, subscribe, hit the bell button so you can be notified whenever I load up a video. I'm also a cookbook author, so I have written the Everything Stevia cookbook, and coming out very soon, it's actually on pre-order on our website, is the Everything Whole Wheat Sourdough cookbook. So if you would like to get a discount, pre-order it and they'll be shipped out in May. Also on the website at everything-homemade.com you can order garden seeds. You can also order my line of dark chocolates and coconut treats. You can also purchase starter cultures. So the sourdough culture the sourdough starter I am actually using here, you can order the starter as well, all on the website. So the books and all the starter cultures and everything else, it's all on the website at everything-homemade.com. Okay, now it's time to get right into how to make this fabulous bread. The very first thing you need to do is have 4 cups of whole wheat. So these are the kernels. You got to make sure that your wheat can be sprouted. For this bread, you can use any kind of wheat. And I'm talking about spelt, I'm talking about commute, I'm talking about any other heirloom wheat. I'm also talking about conventional wheat if you got just wheat seeds with that. I'm talking about spring wheat, winter wheat, all those kinds. That's what I'm talking about. Just make sure that your wheat can be sprouted. And what I would do at first, if you don't know how long your wheat takes to sprout, just do what I'm going to do, but on a smaller scale. Grab a little bit in your hand and sprout it. So that kind of gives you an idea of how long these will sprout. Mine on average, I will soak it one day, get it sprouting the next day, and then make the bread. So I'm 3 days in total from soaking, sprouting, and then making. Sometimes though, we can take a couple of days. So you soak it for 24 hours and then it will take 2 days to sprout. And then the 4th day you're making the bread. But don't be alarmed that maybe you got 3 days in between with that sprouting, and that's why it's really good to know how long it takes your wheat. If your wheat is older, it'll take longer to sprout. If your wheat is fresher, it usually will only, after soaking, take 24 hours to start sprouting, and then you're ready to make the bread. So just, again, do what I'm gonna do on a smaller scale. Test your wheat first, figure out how long it takes to sprout, and then proceed with making this wonderful bread. So the very first thing you want to do is have either an 8-cup measuring cup like I have right here, or a larger bowl, something that's going to fit 4 cups of your kernels in, with some headroom. So now I have 4 cups of headroom, which you will need because you need to fill it up with water. So basically make sure that you are at least 2 or 3 inches above your kernels with water, because they will absorb it. And this is the whole point, is that you want your wheat to absorb the water, so therefore it will sprout quicker. So get a lid on it, put some plastic wrap on it, put a plate over it, anything that will fit either your measuring cup or your bowl, and set it aside out of sunlight, just at room temperature, for 24 hours. 24 hours has went by and we need to strain the water from our wheat kernels, but I want to make it important to note here is that the water that we're going to strain out, I'm actually going to strain it out into a bowl because I want to save that water. It makes absolute wonderful fertilizer for any kind of plants, whether that is outside plants or inside plants. So don't throw away this water, as your plants will just thrive over a good watering of it. So first, let's take a look at our wheat kernels here. You can see how much the wheat has actually absorbed the water. So now we need to strain out this water, and it's very important that you get as much as the water strained out as possible. So I got my bowl here. Now just have a strainer. And what I like to do at this stage here is I like to just kind of move the wheat around a little bit, just so if there's any bit of trapped water in between, I get a lot of it out. So I have another 8-cup measuring cup here. If you don't have another one, or you soaked your wheat in a bowl, get another bowl. So what you want to do is split half of the wheat into one bowl and the other half into the other one, so that it can have enough headspace and enough breathing room so it sprouts without molding. So there's one. I'm just going to get the rest of the wheat into here and the water out. And then put the rest of the wheat into my measuring cup here. And I'm just going to take the wheat that's stuck to the sides, press them down or push them down. And so it'll look something like this, looking really, really good. And so now what you want to do is cover them. You don't want these kernels to dry out, otherwise they will not sprout. And this process now will take either 1 or 2 days. So watch this video before you start sprouting yours, so you know what to look for when they start to sprout and how long you need to keep them, because this is a really critical stage. If they oversprout, they're not really good for making bread anymore. So it's a little bit of a sweet spot that you need to watch for. So for right now, I'm going to leave these for 24 hours, and there should be a nice little sprout that is starting to form, and I'll show you what that will look like. So now put on your lids, set them aside at room temperature, out of direct sunlight, and just wait and watch them sprout. This is the exciting time. Let's take a look at the wheat kernels since they have started to sprout, so you know the exact stage that you need to put them through the Omega juicer. Now I'm just going to mention here the reason that I just wait till that little root comes out is because you want as much nutrients locked still in the seed. You don't want the actual sprout, like the actual part where it's going to come out of the dirt and say hello to the sunshine. You don't want that stage, because all the energy and nutrients that you want for your body will go into sprouting that actual green part where the leaf comes out. And you want to lock that in to the bread, but you want to activate the seed. So you want that seed just to start forming that root, and the seed is coming alive, and that's what you want. You want that living seed. And with sprouting, it removes the phytic acid. So what you're getting is a living seed that you're going to now make a dough out of. And at the end, we're gonna add some sourdough starter to it. So you're gonna have a double whammy, the health benefits of sourdough and the health benefits of sprouted all together in one. And that's why I call this my two love bread, because I'm combining my two loves together, my sprouted bread and the sourdough all together. Okay, let's take a look at these sprouted seeds. Okay, so let's get a close up here. And you can see here that little white area at the end of the seed, that's the root coming out. And you can see them, and the ones right there, right there. All of these seeds are just starting to open up and get their little root. That's exactly what you're looking at. So let's take a look at the other measuring cup. And it must have been, I mean, they were only a couple inches away, yet this one here has some bigger roots on it. Go figure, hey? And I'll just hold up one here. You can see this one has a little bit more of a root on it there. No bigger than this, because this little seed is gonna really start sprouting out real soon. And if I get a little further down, I mean, you can see all these white roots coming out all over the place, there. So this is the stage that you're looking at. And because we drained, remember we drained all the water out, there is still some moisture in here, but they're not soaking wet. You do not want this wet. Otherwise, you're just gonna have such a messy bread. So the moisture, if there's too much moisture, you're going to make a really, really soggy bread. But if you feel a little bit of moisture in your hands, like I don't know if my camera picks it up, I can feel a little bit on my hand, which is good because the seed needed to open and use that little bit of moisture. But this should not be wet if you drained it properly at that step that we did. So let's now get our casserole dish or Dutch oven ready before we start making this into a dough. So I just have a casserole dish here. If you actually have a Dutch oven, use that. But really, all you need is something that has a lid on it, so when you're baking it, this bread doesn't dry out, because we're going to do a nice slow bake on it. So a casserole dish, a Dutch oven works beautifully. I like using a piece of parchment paper at the bottom of this, so I'm just going to cut a piece. Now I like to trace it so I get an exact fit. You can cut a bigger piece and just drop it in if you like. I like doing it like this. I take a pencil and just trace it. And then I just insert it in. So that's all the prep this casserole dish needs. So let's set this aside and let's set up our juicer. I am going to be using the Omega juicer. So let's set that up, and all the information I will have on this juicer will be in the description box below of this video. So just really check that out. So let's just set this up. There's two attachments here. One attachment has the opening for the juice to come out and one doesn't. This one would be for making pasta. So that's the one that we're using. And then I'm just going to put this piece on. There we go. And the top. So pretty easy to set up. Looks like that. Okay. Okay, there you go. Only a couple of minutes and look at that. Beautiful. So when you are all done, make sure that you remove any extra dough right here at the very end. And then just unlock it here, take everything out. And you're always gonna have a little bit of dough right here and in here. And I just kind of push it out. Just like that. And then immediately soak these in hot water in your sink. You don't have to wash them right away, but at least soak them. Otherwise, this dough literally glues on here like cement. I'm going to take some starter here, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of starter in here before I start shaping and making this into a loaf. I am also going to add in a teaspoon of salt. Now I love using Redmond real salt as all the minerals. Oh, it's like, for me, in my opinion, it's like the best salt ever. So I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm just going to mix up my starter here, and I am going to add in a tablespoon of sourdough starter. Just like that. Then with moist hands, I like making my hands moist when I'm working with this dough. Then with moist hands, I'm gonna take it and I'm just going to incorporate that starter into my sprouted dough here. Just kind of really, you know what, work at it there for a moment. Get it all in there. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to form this into a loaf. Now I find it a little bit easier if I take it out of the bowl to do this. You just gotta kind of have to work with it. And what seems like fairly dense bread is going to totally transform in 24 hours. So I'm kind of just feeling for air pockets right now because I kind of broke it up. So that's what I'm feeling here. I'm kind of pushing those pockets together. And what happens is with the sourdough starter now in here, it's actually going to lighten this bread up, but it's going to take 24 hours. So we're going to form this into a loaf, put it into our Dutch oven, and then put it in a warm room. You know, room temperature, don't get too warm. You don't want this to ferment. But put it in a warm room or on the counter in your kitchen, and you're just going to leave it there. And it's going to rise a bit, but it's going to just transform this delicious loaf here into that wonderful smell of sourdough. And now you're going to have the mix of the wonderful flavor of sprouted mixed with sourdough. Okay, so that's not looking too bad. Now, it's totally up to you if you want a little bit larger or a little bit taller loaf or a little bit wider and flatter. It's completely up to you how you want to shape this. But I think this looks pretty good. This is kind of like the average loaf that I make. It's something like this. So I'm just going to measure here what I have just so you can visually make sort of the same loaf so we have about the same baking time. So we're looking about 7 inches and about 2 inches in height. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. So now what we want to do is just pick up our loaf and then grab our casserole dish or Dutch oven. I mean, you can even use a roaster. Just something that can go in the oven covered. Just make sure there's no plastic. And put it on there. Remember, I got that parchment paper underneath. And now put on that lid and put on your counter or in that warm spot where you had them sprouting for 24 hours. Just make sure it's not warmer than 25 degrees Celsius. Again, you don't want this to ferment, but you do want that sourdough to come alive with that sprouted dough and just work magic over the next 24 hours. So this is 24 hours later. Gotta look at this. Look how much it has risen. This is absolutely beautiful. And when you take off that lid, that smell of sourdough mixed with that sprouted smell, oh my word, it's fantastic. So what we need to do now, preheat our oven. Now I'm using just a toaster oven here because I'm only cooking 1 loaf of bread. So I've got other things that I need to do today. So instead of using up my big oven for 4 hours, I'm going to just utilize my smaller toaster oven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just actually place the lid back on, and we're going to keep the lid on for the entire bake. We're going to preheat our oven 250 Fahrenheit and put it in and leave it cook in here for 4 hours. So it keeps the nutritional level as high as possible. 4 hours, you guys, in the oven, 250 Fahrenheit, and have your Dutch oven or casserole dish covered. 4 hours is finally up, and let's take a look at the bread. So let's open this up. Oh man, just the aroma of it. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so at this stage, we got to do something really important. So at this moment, I am just actually going to put back on the lid, and I am just going to set it aside. And I'm going to show you something here. So what I have here is just a pot. I have a cooling rack. Mine is just circular. So I went all over the house and I took one of these and I basically started inserting it into as many pots as I can until I found a pot that it would fit. Now mine kind of just hangs there about 1 inch or so from the bottom. Yours can go all the way to the bottom as long as it has feet. Now this is really critical because whatever shape of rack you have, you want it to properly fit, because properly fit and then have a lid on top. What's going to happen is the steam is going to hit the lid. It's going to drain down. You want to make sure your lid kind of has an angle downwards. The steam will hit the lid, the steam will turn to water on top, drip down the sides and go underneath. You cannot cool this bread down like regular bread. You can't just take a cooling rack, put it down and let it cool to the air, because what happens is that the crust will get so hard that it is so difficult to cut through. So doing this really, it keeps the moisture in, but cools it down without the bread getting soggy. So look out for that. Now let's just transfer the bread onto this cooling rack. And I will literally just grab it. Woo, it's a bit hot. So grab it. And now what I'm going to do is actually just use one of these pot holders here. And you want to do this while this is hot. So you want to take that off there. And then I'm going to just grab my other pot holder, flip it over, and get it onto that rack. There we go. So this is what you want to do. And again, I'm going to put the lid on And you could see quite quickly that it is starting to steam. And that is perfect. So it's going to trap that steam. It's going to drain that water off because my lid isn't flat. It actually angles downwards, and then that water is going to come to the bottom. And this is, again, really key to keeping that crust softer and not go brick hard with this bread. So you're going to leave it here for a minimum of 4 hours. I will leave it actually for the rest of the day. It's about 3:30, so I will come back and film this tomorrow morning. I will leave it all through the night in this because I know it's not going to dry out, but then it's going to be 100% cooled down by the morning. Again, minimum of 4 hours in this. So basically set this aside and I'll see you back tomorrow morning and we will taste this delicious bread. So the bread has completely cooled off and now it's time for me to take it out of my pot. Before I do that, you can see the water that has accumulated on top of this lid and it's actually drained down. So what I'm going to do is quickly open this lid so the water droplets don't drip onto the bread as I take the lid off. So we got to do this quick. And there you have it. Beautiful loaf of bread. So I am just going to put that on the cutting board right here. And now I'm going to show you something. You see what's in the bottom here is the water. So this worked absolutely just as I wanted to. The water drips from the lid, goes onto the bottom of my pot, and my bread is not soggy. Now it's time to slice the bread. Okay, take a look at that. Beautiful. This is a heavier bread, but will definitely fill you up, and it is so nutritious. So, I haven't had breakfast yet, so one of my favorite ways to enjoy this, which might sound kind of weird, is I like to put a little peanut butter on. And then I add a slice of cheese. I know, weird, but hey, this is what I like. I have no fresh butter in the house this morning. I'm going to add my second favorite toppings on. And a piece of cheese just like that. And it's time to enjoy. Oh man. If you love sourdough and you love the sprouted bread that I have shown you how to make, this is a perfect combination to enjoy both at the same time. And yes, peanut butter and cheese does taste good together. Oh, what a good start to my breakfast. What else that I really love about this bread is that you can toast it really easily. It makes such a delicious toast. So while this is absolutely fantastic in flavor, when you toast it, it actually brings out even more flavor. It's like toasted wheat on a whole new dimension. So let's toast a slice. Okay, let's add some toppings on this little toast. Nothing like fresh homemade cheese as well. Oh man. You guys have to try this. It's so delicious. I can't say that enough because it's just so delicious. It really is so good. This is such a good way to incorporate an extremely healthy bread into your diet. So as I finish eating my breakfast this morning, go to everything-homemade.com. On the website, you'll find the Everything Stevia cookbook, the Everything Whole Wheat Sourdough cookbook. That one's on pre-order right now, so get a discount right now and pre-order the book, as it is gonna come out very, very soon. I'm gonna start shipping them probably within about 4 weeks. Also, join the Homemade Homesteading Mastery group on Facebook. So I have a private group and we talk all about homesteading. I post on there a lot of things that you won't even see on YouTube. And this is a good way to be able to communicate with me one-on-one. So to join that group, you can go to Facebook, and once again, it's Homemade Homesteading Mastery. Or you can go onto the website, scroll down where you would subscribe, and you can click the link to that group right there. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Enjoy your sprouted sourdough bread, and I will see you on the next one.